guys, welcome to another episode of Spill the Beans right now. My name is Rakhi Krishna, and if you know me and if you have been following my channel, you would know that I'm a registered pharmacist from India. I moved to UK to study my masters, and after completing my masters, I have started working in a pharmaceutical company. And just last week, I shared that I did not choose to do the OSPAP and also did not become a registered pharmacist in the UK. So I got a lot of responses and also asking questions like, what are the career opportunities for clinical pharmacist, how can we become a clinical pharmacist, and all of those questions. So today I have very special guest joining me to answer those questions for you. Her name is Dr. Vrinda Nambudri. She is a Pharm D by background. She did her Pharm D back in 2016, and that was from Amrita School of Pharmacy. And then she started her career as a clinical pharmacist at Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, which is in Kochi, Kerala. And now she has become a clinical research pharmacist. So we can know more about her journey. How did she start with the career? What all activities she covers on a day-to-day basis, and where to look for these jobs. And very interestingly, she has also started working on her PhD. That is another important question that I receive and many have doubts about. Like, can we pursue PhD after completing PharmD? So what are the benefits and what are the challenges to look forward to? So we can ask her those questions as well. And also we discuss about her passion for pharmacy and touch on the controversial topics like, is pharmacy jobs having good scope only in abroad countries and not in India? So all of those things, but speaking very passionately about pharmacy. So let's get to it and know more about her journey.
Your story is somewhat like different, and it has a amazing growth curve that I have observed from your career. So it has been like 7 years or 6 to 7 years after you have graduated, and as a clinical pharmacist you have been doing an amazing job. So can you share what have you done differently and how you have achieved this kind of growth curve?
Thank you so much for actually appreciating that. I don't know if it was an amazing career journey, but I've explored a lot. I could say that. So I didn't have like a clear cut plan. Like this year I would do this. In next 5 years, this would be my like I would reach at this point. I still don't have that. I'm still figuring out my journey. So I don't know if I'm actually in a right position to give an expert opinion as such, but I can only share my journey.
Yeah.
So like I said, I started off as a pharmacist, clinical pharmacist in the stewardship program. And when I started working in it, I started getting interested more and more on what I could do, what pharmacists could do. I started reading more about it. And fortunately or unfortunately, we didn't have, we only had references from abroad. So outside India, we had a lot of publications coming out saying pharmacists could do this, could do that. And I read that and I was actually wondering, like, what could we do in India? Like, I didn't know what we could do, what was our potential here. But fortunately, I had a very good team of doctors at Amrita who were very supportive. I think that was very fundamental to whatever I could achieve in the next few years.
Sure.
Because they were very supportive. They had a clear idea about how they could mold the PharmD profession, and they were very much willing and very much interested in doing that. So right from the time I joined the program, they were keen on making sure that I get engaged in research work. I was part of various quality improvement programs. They gave me opportunities to work with international universities. So I got a lot of opportunities, I think, within the first 2 years itself. So I was speaking to people from abroad, from London, from the US, talking like they were the experts in stewardship. They were doctors, pharmacists who were experts in the field, and I had the opportunities to interact with them, and that sort of gave me a wider perspective, I would say.
Yeah.
Like an eye-opening, could like as to what I could do, what a PharmD graduate could do, and then I think things fell in the right time. I got an opportunity to work in a research project in collaboration with Imperial College in London. And that was a huge opportunity for me because professionally, I grew a lot in that 4 years as part of the project because I was trained in qualitative research. Unfortunately, qualitative research is not dealt in the PharmD curriculum. I don't think it's being dealt with enough focus in any of the medical curriculum. but that's I never knew about qualitative research. When I graduated, I only knew about quantitative research. We are taught about randomized control trials, cohort
Exactly.
study, cross-sectional study, but we never knew that there's something known as qualitative research, which could be very useful, especially in a medical system.
Yeah.
And I think I was introduced to that aspect, and that sort of completely changed the game for me. And I got interested into qualitative research. I read more about it. I had the right mentor who is considered as an expert in the field. She's also a pharmacist by background. Her name is Dr. Smita Charani. She's also considered, she's a pharmacist by background, and she's doing a lot of qualitative work in public health domain, and she's considered an expert in the field. So I think meeting her and talking to her actually got me interested into that field. And Aspire's project, that's a 4-year project where I worked on with Imperial College. And that gave me a lot of experience and training in this aspect in qualitative research. And now I have gradually moved into that aspect. Right now, my PhD work also, I'm focusing more on, I'm using qualitative methodologies to do my PhD as well.
Mhm.
So I've gradually drifted from proper clinical pharmacy role to more research responsibilities.
If you can give a flavor of what all activities you used to do on a day-to-day basis as a clinical pharmacist.
I think before I share what I used to do, I think I would like to highlight one point for all Pharm D students and who are in the brim of graduation.
Yeah.
It is better to always have maybe not a pakka 100% clarity, but at least an idea about where you want to work into. What I mostly see in, I think in Pharm D 5th year students who go for projects, like who start their research work in the 5th year, I have seen many of them approaching doctors in all the departments. They just go and knock at the door of any doctor they can, and they ask for project.
Oh yeah, I have done that.
But
I can relate.
I've also talked to them. I've tried to tell them also. It's always better you read, you understand where do you want to work in.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just doing research for the sake of doing research. Make sure you're doing it in some area that you are interested in. Because you go into an oncologist, you meet an oncologist and you ask him for a project. He might give you a project, but once you start doing it, you might lose interest. You might feel that, it's a burden. You can't do it and you're not interested in it.
Yeah.
So you just end up, just making up results. And I feel it's not the right way to approach.
True,
I
I
might
agree.
be wrong,
Yeah.
but that's my perspective. So always, at least by the time you're in the 5th year, just try to figure out, it may not be the final destination. So
Yeah.
you will evolve from there.
True.
So you might feel that, cardiology is your area of interest. But, once you start working in cardiology, maybe 1 year or 2 years down the line, you might want to switch out. You
Yeah,
might want to move into an industry. I mean, that's absolutely fine. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. But make sure you're doing things somewhere where you can relate to, you have some interest, rather than, just taking up things for the sake of it. And, in the long run, making, you start feeling that it's a burden and you don't enjoy that work.
Yeah.
So I think that's just one point that I would like to say to all the graduates, whoever is starting off their clinical pharmacy journey. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Now, coming to your question, I think in stewardship, like I said, we were fortunate that we had a good team of doctors, and they were very clear about how pharmacists should contribute. So right from the time I started the program as an intern, so stewardship began at Amrita in 2016, and it was me and 2 other Pharm D interns were given the first posting in stewardship when the program was initiated. So at that point itself, the doctors were clear about how pharmacists should contribute. So they gave us a very good orientation. They taught us, like, this is how you need to collect the cases. So we are taught about theoretical aspect of antimicrobials, like this is the mechanism of action, this is the dosages, these are the indications.
Yeah.
But we lack the clinical expertise to actually say, okay, for this patient, is this the right drug to give, or is this the wrong one to give, or how should we modify it? So that kind of hands-on training was given to us right from the beginning by the doctors. I think I'm very grateful to them, because they spend a lot of time and energy to actually train us.
Yeah.
And so we were given the responsibility of collecting the cases of patients as well as doing the first analysis.
Mhm.
So many of them see that, okay, PharmD students or PharmD interns or clinical pharmacists are there only to collect the cases, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
You are the one who are first seeing the patient, who's first seeing the patient. You are the one to first assess what is, whether the given antimicrobial is right or wrong, how can we modify it, and things like that. Only
Yeah.
then it goes to the doctors and you present it to them.
Yeah.
So I think it is very important that even PharmD interns who are posted in stewardship understand that fact. You are not there as data collectors.
Yeah.
You are there to, you are the ones to first see the patient, make sure that you utilize that opportunity. And when you present the case to the doctors as well, make sure you give your recommendation first,
Exactly.
rather than just, in taking in whatever they say. Make sure you also contribute to the program.
Absolutely.
And
Agree with you, Shashi, on that. Yeah,
yeah,
because it takes me back to my days of antibiotic stewardship. So it's
yeah, I
just not
remember.
like, yeah, it's just not like, you're just a data collector, you're doing the operational side for someone else to just
Yeah.
take those information and do their own analysis. But instead, you collect the data, you also have a very strategic inputs in health supporting the physician in making their decisions. So I like the way how you put it. So because we should not see our work to be a very, very simple one, but rather
Exactly.
it has more
Exactly.
complex aspect to it.
I think that I don't know if it's true, but it has somewhere, we as pharmacists, we feel inferior at times.
Yeah.
We feel that, doctor, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but then we feel that, or I definitely used to feel that, because when I used to approach a doctor, I used to keep feeling, okay, I'm not well trained in that aspect, and he's the expert. He's much experienced than me. How do I go and talk to him?
Yeah, true.
I think, and that makes you feel inferior, and you don't have the confidence to actually approach them. But I do feel that it is something that you can gain over time, at least through experience. You will gradually have the confidence. I still don't have it 100%. I still find it difficult to approach some
Yeah.
of the doctors. That not just doctors, people whom I think are experts in the field, or are senior consultants.
Yeah.
It is still difficult, but I think a concerted effort needs to come from the side of pharmacist.
True.
That
True.
I mean, you might be fired. I have been fired. I have got scoldings from the doctors. I think that's just part of the game.
I know.
You don't need to be disheartened because someone just scolds you. Or it is difficult when you're doing things in the right intention and people don't see that, and people
Yeah.
criticize you. It is difficult, but I think we should just try to take it in the positive manner.
Agree with you, Jesse. I feel like we have to also see the doctor's attitude from their perspective as well, because they have been seeing a number of patients on that day, and then
Exactly.
we come up with some random silly errors, and obviously, so it is not just because the doctor wants to fire us, it is going to
Exactly.
directly have an impact on that patient who is there right
Yeah.
in front of you. So it's
Yeah.
not like you manufacture a drug and then years later something happens. It's not like that. It's direct impact. And so you are liable, and also you have to be accountable, so whatever happens. And also for
Yeah.
one of the thing that you mentioned earlier about the fact that you have to understand the kind of topic you want to do on the fifth year research. I know I exactly connect with that, because I went to all the doctors, I went knocking all the doctors doors and asking about topics, and I got one of that. And then while I was presenting it to the ethics committee, I got rejected. Then again, I tweaked it a bit again and then presented it again. I got rejected again. It's because I didn't have any proper understanding to respond to their questions. And then I decided to drop it all, and then went back, found my own topic, kind of research with, got expert advice from someone who was on the external side. And that kind of like brought in more ideas. And while I was asked
Yeah.
questions in the ethics committee, I could answer, because me
Yeah.
and my team, we were like, okay, trained on answering that question. So agree with you on that. And also, like, coming back to your PhD, because I feel like after PharmD, everybody's kind of exhausted. They don't want to study anymore. For me personally, I can relate with that, because I'm like, okay, I studied for 6 years. I did a 1 year course, 7 years. I'm done. But if I look at my inner friend circle, I feel like it's like one or two people who have started doing a PhD, and a second person, that one of the person would be you. So
Okay.
can you relate? Can you relate? Like, how did you come to that topic of like, okay, I want to do a PhD next, and how am I going to manage the workload? Like side by side, I want to do my work as well as manage a PhD and also keep my study work life balance going on. So how are you managing all that?
I think I completely agree with you, because when I still remember the last exam I gave, I think in my 5th year, Pharm D, I was sure that I was never going to study again. I was done and done for good.
Yeah.
Like, listen, whatever I get, whatever job I get, I'm going to do with that, and I don't want to study more. But I think PhD was never planned for me; it just happened. So my mentor here at Amrita, Dr. Vidya, she's right now in the US. She was one of the initial doctors to be part of the stewardship program here.
Yeah.
I think it was her idea that pharmacist in the team should apply for PhD. And because she was working in the US, and she was experienced with working with pharmacists who had a PhD degree as well.
Oh yeah.
And she spoke to us, and she was like, go and apply, and start working on that. And I was like, that's never a good idea. I don't think that's gonna work. I was initially very
Pushback.
much resistant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I told her that I don't want to do it, and she was kind of persuasive. She
Yeah, yeah.
felt that it would be the right path for me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you come across people like that, who have a better clarity about your work and your professional journey than what you
True.
have.
True. I
Uh,
agree.
Yeah. And she and Dr. Sanjeev, who's my PhD guide right now, they both were kind of persuasive, and they are like, I think it's the right path for you. Just try it out. I mean, PhD is not something you can try it out, because it's a long-term commitment. You are committing like a minimum of 3 years to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And the thing with PhD is that I feel it requires a lot of motivation, because when you are doing a research work elsewhere, you always have someone to fall back on. Like, you will have a principal investigator, you can always approach them. And even if you get a bit lazy, they are there to push you and, to get you back on track. But with PhD, you are the one. Like, everything is on you.
Yeah.
People are there to help you, but it's only when you go and approach them. No one is going to come behind you saying that, oh, you're lagging behind on your work, you need to spend more time. I actually learned it the hard way, because initially I was very lazy. Even after I started my PhD work, I'm just saying it very honestly. When I started my work, I was very lazy. I was not very much interested or very much keen on progressing on that aspect. I was more focused on my work and my research project where I was working on. So initially there was a lag, but then once when I started understanding that PhD could add value to my career, that's when I think it was after I met few experts, international experts who were pharmacists by background and who did a PhD. And when I spoke to them, and especially, I think in India, PhD is seen as a career option for those who want to go into the teaching field.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think when I spoke to international faculty, they were saying that even in the research side, with the PhD, you gain a lot of experience. You learn a lot when you do a PhD from a research perspective, and that gives you a lot of, I think, confidence and knowledge to then take your research career forward.
Yeah.
So that is when I understood that, okay, so if I want to move into the research aspect of clinical pharmacy, it would be better if I have a PhD degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started working on it. Then I started exploring what I can do. And I think it has been a very long journey, but I have learned a lot through that. So I have explored a lot. I have come up with ideas. I have been rejected. I have applied for a lot of fundings. I have been rejected, but I learned how to write publications, to speak at seminars and conferences. Then so many things. I think this time may not be sufficient for me to list down what all I could learn from
Exactly.
that.
Agree. There's a whole lot
Yeah.
of growth curve that has come as part of that.
Yeah.
So very
Yeah.
quickly, how many years have you been into PhD now?
So I actually I'm doing it as part-time. So
Yeah.
I'm right now, so that again extends your PhD time
Yeah.
when you're doing it along with work. So right now I'm in my 6th year, 5.5 right now. And I'm planning to finish it off this year, hopefully.
Yes, fingers crossed. We'll all pray
Yeah,
for you.
thank you.
Great motivation. Yeah, so I also noticed that you have multiple publications on this research work, and I felt like it is because you have that research inclination right from your fifth year onwards. So, do you suggest that even students who are doing their PharmD, like right from their first or the second year onwards, they should start having that research attitude just to explore and get all the subjects that are taught within the PharmD to get all the benefits? Should they start the research side, or it's according to your interest? What is your take on that?
I would say it is according to your interest, whether you want to do a proper clinical pharmacy in the hospital, or you want to explore more into the research side, or you want to move into the industrial side, or you want to go for the teaching side. It's all your interest.
Yeah.
But I do feel that when you are in your PharmD program, it's always good to have a flavor of everything. Like you are given postings in different departments, so you get a flavor about clinical pharmacy aspect. So if you can do at least some short projects, I think when I was doing my internship or my fifth year posting, there were many doctors who are interested in giving opportunities for short projects and things like that.
Yeah.
So if ever you get opportunities like that, or be more proactive, go and approach them and tell them that you want to do this work.
Yeah.
And make sure you at least attempt to publish it.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that there's a lot of work happening, but not much gets published.
Yeah.
People are not very enthusiastic to sit down and do the
Right.
analysis, write it up.
Yeah.
But I think unless and until you report things, whatever you have found, I don't think it reaches its ultimate value.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
unless and until you talk to people that you have found this, no one is going to know that you did it.
Yeah. True.
So if you, it could be very simple. I've seen lots and lots of studies on polypharmacy. We think polypharmacy is something that, you see it a lot.
Yeah.
But I think if you could significantly make an impact on reducing polypharmacy, especially in patients who are in the geriatric population, for them, polypharmacy is a huge problem. So it could be as simple as that. But if you see that you are able to make an impact into it, write it up, publish it, and talk to people, share it with everyone.
I wanted to check if you had any turning point in your career, and can you explain a bit on that?
So like I said, meeting my PhD co-guide, Dr. Smita Charani, I would say that's the turning point in my career. Because up until that, I was focused on, working in the hospital. I never, although I had research interest, I was never thinking about moving full-time into the research side.
Yeah.
I think it was meeting. I think I first met her in 2017 when she came to Amrita as part of her PhD work. And speaking to her, interacting with her, I understood that there's a whole world of qualitative research out there. There are a lot of work happening on the international side, especially in antimicrobial use, antimicrobial prescribing. And there's a lot of things that pharmacists can understand from that. So I started reading more about it. And then I got involved in a multi-center project called Aspires. That's the abbreviated form, which was looking at antibiotic prescribing in the surgical pathways. And through the project, I got trained in qualitative research, and that's how I gradually moved into the research side. And now I think qualitative research is a big part of what I'm.
That's amazing. So I think you have also won this Young Investigators Award from Melinda Gates Foundation. So
that was that again, it was not something like I worked a lot for it. It just happened. So I happened to submit an abstract for one of the infectious diseases conferences, which was organized by International Society for Infectious Diseases. And there, when you submit abstracts, you have the provision also to apply for grants and awards. So that's how I did it. And fortunately, I got selected. My work got selected. It's not me who got selected. It's the work that got selected. And I was the presenting author for that work. And that's how that award happened.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was during the COVID pandemic. It was
Yeah.
online, and I
Yeah.
saw this news, and as a pharmacist who kind of passed out and graduated and not knowing what to do next. When I saw that news, I was like, "Wow, this is my senior, and if she could do this, there are so many opportunities
Yeah.
for us." So I found
I
it
mean,
very inspiring.
I mean, there are a lot of opportunities. It's so you read about in the US, once you graduate, you get this very glorified job and you have a good salary and there's a lot
Yeah,
of recognition.
yeah,
But also know that there's a lot of training that's happening. So in the US, you can't just, after your PharmD, you can't just move into a multi-specialty hospital and have a prosperous career. You have to still go do research. I mean, specializations, PGY1, PGY2 courses. You have to do international board certifications, and you have to do a lot of research work, have a lot of publications. It takes a lot of time to gain that recognition, even in a country like the US, wherein PharmD was introduced much before when it was introduced in India.
yeah,
So struggle is there everywhere. So if you see the time frame, here you might take 5 years to reach that point, but if you move abroad, you might get it in 3 years because
yeah.
people know what you're doing and
Mm-hmm.
there are more opportunities for you. I'm not denying that fact. But I still feel that at least if more people stay back in the country and try to explore the opportunities here, we can gradually build the program here as well.
Yeah.
So go and knock on the doors, go and speak to people, network, speak to people who have passed out before you, your faculty, doctors in your hospital, people whom we can approach. I
Yeah.
think that's the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you on that, Chechi. So that's the reason why I have started this kind of conversation, because once I moved abroad, everybody asked me like, is it abroad the only option for us as PharmDs? But that's where I look
Yeah.
at the careers of our pharmacists who have stayed back in India. They have great opportunities going so far. So I wanted to bring that to the audience, because it is not like like you said, the grass is greener on the other side. Once you move to that other country, you have to start from scratch, because PharmD is not there in UK. So I have to tell them like,
Yeah.
this is all the things that I have studied. I can work in all these areas. But it's much easier if you are in India, but because it is getting more established now, you can start working and also learn more. And I don't find like there is a portal where we can like go and apply for clinical pharmacist job, because most of this happens through internal hiring and recommendations. So how can someone try for that kind of job?
I think getting employed in the hospital where you have been trained may not be an option for all, because even now not all pharmacy colleges have a super specialty hospital very close to them within their own network. They might be in collaboration with hospitals that are close to them, which may not be that feasible to get employed there. I would say networking is key. Whichever profession it is, I feel networking is the go-to thing that you have to do. It's very difficult. I'm still learning how to network, but I've found that the more you network, the more you talk to people, it brings out a lot of opportunities for you. Once people get to know you, what you are doing, I think that's when you are given more opportunities. So right now itself, it is because we both have talked that you understood I've done this work and you wanted to talk to me more about it.
Yeah.
So it's always like that. Even the conferences that I've spoken at, or the seminars that I've gone for, it's all based on the networks, and people contact you because someone has referred you. So some doctor might have referred you saying that she has done this work. Maybe she could talk on that. And that's when people contact you. So you go for one event, people hear you there, you network with some people, you get another opportunity from there. It's like a snowball effect.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
So that's the same thing, I think, when it comes to your when you start your career as well. You might not get that many networking opportunities. Like that opportunities increase as you progress in your career. But I think at least when you go for conferences, what happens is that when, I don't know if that's the current situation even now, like when I used to study, when we used to go for conferences, we never knew exactly what we were supposed to do. So you used to, like, I have attended, I think, 1 or 2 conferences while I was doing my PhD. And after like 1 or 2 sessions, you go out, you loiter around, you go for sightseeing. You might come back for another session. If there's a poster presentation, you come back for that. and you never really explore the opportunities to network there. Like, I was never aware about that aspect. It was only when I started working that I understood that networking is important. So make use of these opportunities. When you go for programs like this, go and speak to people. Uh, it could be, other clinical pharmacists who are working. So once you have that network, when there's an opportunity coming out in their hospital, they might think about you.
Yeah,
And that's important.
true.
Once you make an impact on them, and you make a mark in their mind, they will think about you when they hear about an opportunity, and they'll contact you. Many times what happens is that people look at salary versus experience.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And personally, for me, when I started off, I looked more at experience than for salary. Make sure you know your preferences. You might not get a high salary at the beginning, but I feel personally that don't be disheartened because you're not getting a high pay in the beginning, but make sure you get the experience.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like when you told about the networking part, that's so important. Even if you're like very junior in your career, to like when you go to the very senior level as well, that networking plays a very important part. So it must be just like saying hi, hello, how are you? And I'm
Exactly.
doing this kind of job, this kind of work in my job. What do you do? Tell me more about it. Let's meet for a coffee.
Yeah.
Let's meet for a Teams
Yeah.
call. So all those kind of these activities makes an impact, and like you said, it is very important as you progress in your career. And second thing, as you said, to look at the job opportunities, the activities that you can do on the job rather than looking at the salary. It brings me to the last and very important question, and I don't think even I even have to ask that question to you, because you have spoken about your career, your interest, and your and also your activities very passionately, very enthusiastically, and that energy, I could feel it. It's like miles away. But even then, for our audience, I wanted to ask you, like, do you enjoy what you do, and do you recommend pharmacy as an interesting profession to everyone?
100%. 100% I would. Uh, I don't know if I can recommend pharmacy to someone. For my journey, I have loved being a pharmacist. I have enjoyed clinical pharmacy. I've enjoyed research, but it may not be the cup of tea for everyone. So if someone wants to ask me about how I have progressed, I can talk about that. But I never recommend a profession to anyone. I can only say that this is what I have done. This is how I have progressed, and I am 100% happy with how I have progressed. I have had my failures. I have had my successes. I have learned a lot. I think for me that is most important, because in the last 7 years I have professionally grown a lot.
Yeah.
I can see that in the simplest way of how I speak, uh, how I write. Everything has changed, and it has changed for good. So, and I have a long way to go. So it is only now that I've started sort of planning my the next 5 years or things like that. It's only
Yeah.
now that I've started, but I would always recommend pharmacy students to have a think about it even before I did. Like, once you are into your career, maybe not in at the time you start the career, but at least once you are like a year into the profession, maybe start thinking about how you want to progress.
So thank you so much, Chechi. And talking with you was amazing. I learned so many things. And also, what was supposed to be a 40 minutes call kind of went on for very long. And it has been very
I did warn you. I did warn you that I am a talker and I can go on
No,
a lot.
no, this is exactly the kind of conversation that our audience wants to hear, and also they can learn so many things. Like I said, like any key aspect that we might have touched on must be the thing that we're looking for, like the answers to that
Hopefully.
question. So it was
Hopefully.
wonderful chatting with you, Chechi, and speak with you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rakhi. Thank you so much for reaching out, and I really enjoyed the conversation.